Dear students and viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all in my YouTube channel. I am Sheikh ZAHOOR, teacher of high school Shanu, and today we are going to discuss about the next topic, that is nitrogen fixation. Let's start with our topic. And about this topic, nitrogen fixation is basically a process in which nitrogen is converted into nitrogen compounds by certain elements or by certain factors in the atmosphere. The process is known as nitrogen fixation. We know that the presence of nitrogen in air is about 78%. Or we usually call it as the nitrogen is present as free in free form as 78%. And this nitrogen is converted into nitrogen compounds, and that particular process is known as nitrogen fixation. How it is converted into nitrogen compounds? It is usually converted by certain natural factors or certain artificial factors too. But in most cases, it is converted by natural factors, and scientists are now working on the artificial methods also. Nitrogen is converted into nitrogen compounds. These compounds can be nitrates, they can be nitrites, or they can be hydrides. Usually ammonia or ammonium ions. Nitrates having formula NO2, nitrites NO3, hydrides ammonia NH3, while as ammonium ions formula NH4 with a positive charge on nitrogen atom. And how this nitrogen is fixed, how it is converted into its simpler form or into absorbed form. It is usually done by azobacter. It is usually done by azobacter, or it is done by certain bacteria which are present in the soil. The most common among them is azobacter. And why it is called as azobacteria, or it is usually called as azobacter. Azo means nitrogen. It is a Greek word, means nitrogen. Bacter means bacteria. That bacteria which fixes nitrogen in the soil, and these bacteria are usually present in the soil, and they actually fix this hydrogen, they fix this nitrogen, they convert this atmospheric nitrogen into its simpler form, into its compound form, due to which this nitrogen is easily absorbed by the plants there. The presence of rhizobium bacteria, or the presence of another bacteria, that is rhizobium bacteria, in the root nodules of certain leguminous plants or certain plants we usually provide as pulses, that is also responsible for the fixation of this nitrogen. And this rhizobium is mostly considered as the agent for the fixation of this nitrogen, which is present in the root nodules of these leguminous plants. Besides this, the blue-green algae, or what we call as cyanobacteria, this cyanobacteria also fixes this nitrogen. It also fixes this nitrogen, and due to which nitrogen is absorbed by certain plants. The effect of this lightning is also responsible, or this lightning factor is also responsible for the fixation of this nitrogen into nitrogen compounds. And basically what happens in case of this rhizobium bacteria, which is present in the root nodules of leguminous plants, it basically there is an symbiotic this relationship between the two. Symbiotic relationship is basically reverse of the parasitic relationship. In case of symbiotic relationship, both the organisms are benefited. This rhizobium is also benefited, and root nodules are also benefited. Root nodules can get nitrogen, while as rhizobium can survive. It can also survive with this nitrogen. That is why this symbiotic relationship which is present between the two, between the rhizobium bacteria and the root and this leguminous plant, or the root nodules of leguminous plants, they are responsible for the fixation of this atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogen compounds. And also the factor of lightning. During lightning, what happens? The presence of high temperature. It usually breaks the bond between nitrogen and nitrogen in case of nitrogen gas or nitrogen molecule or dinitrogen. And with the help of this nitrogen can easily combine with oxygen to result in the formation of nitrogen compounds or nitrogen oxides, like nitrates, like nitrites, like nitric oxide, like nitrous oxide. Right? These compounds these nitrogen oxides can then easily be used by these plants, and how these how due to lightning, how these nitrogen oxides and nitrogen compounds are absorbed by the soil. Then these nitrogen oxides, they combine with the rain water, they combine with the rain droplets, and they fall towards the earth, and they find their way into the earth's crust, and whereby plants can easily obtain these nitrogen compounds or these nitrogen oxides for their growth and development. And nowadays certain artificial methods are also used for the fixation of this nitrogen in laboratory, whereby high temperature is used to break the bond between nitrogen and nitrogen in case of dinitrogen, and then this nitrogen is allowed to, or is permitted to combine with the oxygen present in the formation of nitrogen oxides, and then these nitrogen oxides are sprayed on these plants or in the soil, so that these nitrogen oxides can be easily absorbed by the soil. So that was all about today's topic. Have a nice day.